When daytime turned to nighttime, it snowed and snowed. Then, the whistle sounded and the gates began to come down. And Amber steamed over the crossing with all of her coaches. Thomas steamed from the rear while being really useful. "The cord on my coach is for emergency purposes only," Amber said, and she steamed onto the viaduct. "I am the Polar Express," she said. "My conductor said all aboard!" Because the hero boy arrived at the house. The Amfleet cars rolled from the rear, and Thomas pushed from the behind. "This is the Amtrak Woman Train Polar Express," he said. "Ha-da-da-da-da-da! I hope I get a train instead of a tree," he trosted. "This is the North Pole," said Amber. They arrived on time. The next day, Thomas felt better when he saw a train. "Look, Thomas! Santa brought us a Christmas train," said his driver, and he loved it. It went all around the tree, as all the presents were really useful. When Christmas was over a few months later, Kaylee was in the yard. "Today, Kaylee," Mr. Cakester said, "I'm sending you to collect a freight train to take to New Haven, Connecticut." "Sounds good, sir," she said. And before long, she was buffered up to the train, and she struggled with all of her might. Her wheels slipped, and sparks flew from the rails as she struggled and struggled. And at last, the train began to move. "I like these cars I got for Christmas," Kaylee said, "'cause I am the Amtrak Woman Train Polar Express." And she did her best along the line. Oops. But she spoke too soon. A tank truck was stuck on the line due to a faulty engine. But little did the driver know that Kaylee was fast approaching. He got out just in time. Kaylee's driver slammed the brakes on. But it was too late. Fire raged into the sky, and then she flipped off the tracks and went flying onto her side and upside down. And her boiler scraped on the ground, and she went right through a house and over the rails, straight into an apartment building. "I'm sorry," she said. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the cars in rear stayed on the tracks, but the others were derailed and toppled over. Thankfully, no violence was reported, as everyone survived, and Kaylee was on her side. Camille arrived at the rescue. "I'll have you back on the line in no time," she said. And she puffed with all of her might. Her wheels slipped, and her horsepower engine roared, and she kept on puffing. She puffed and pulled as the brake van slowed down and the freight cars went upright again, flipping to their normal position. And Kaylee went right back upright again. "Thank you, Camille," she said. Alexia pulled up. "You'll be back in good working order soon," she said. Later that day, Camille collected Kaylee's freight train, and the crossing gates began to come down. And her whistle sounded, and she steamed over the crossing to be really useful indeed. There was a lot of cars, but she still carried on. Then the gates went up again. Everyone is useful on the island of New Florida because they go through countrysides and they're really useful with passengers, freight, and gender products. I'm sure I know what I mean by that, but it's really useful indeed. The sun was shining, and the trains were working hard to be really useful on the tracks to make up for Kaylee's crash. And even though how bad it was, no one can hope it's repeated in the future.